Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. This is a meme coin market update. We're going to start with some market overview, altcoin season index, and of course Bitcoin dominance and how relevant that is to the specific altcoins and meme coins we like to cover. Now, when it comes to trading these coins, we're going to be taking a look here at WIF, Dogecoin, BONK, and PEPE. Those are all coins I trade within my community here. If you're curious about that, cryptocash.tech is a site link down below. Feel free to hit the like button, comment below. Let me know if you like this new format. Getting a lot of good feedback from it, and I really appreciate it. Always hit the like button and let me know, what position are you in right now? What are you trading? All right, so start with Bitcoin dominance, kind of give you some perspective here. Bitcoin dominance has gone sideways, even though it's sporadically up and down. It's gone mostly sideways for the last 4 days. This implies that with Bitcoin dominance being stable, the price of Bitcoin going up will respond in kind for altcoins. So if Bitcoin comes down, we're going to probably see a bit of a correction from altcoins, inverse as well if Bitcoin goes up. That's kind of the standard where we're at right now. Jumping into the back-end data here, first of all, I like to start with altcoin season index. This is relevant to meme coins specifically because some of my favorite ones are up here. The ones we're going to cover here today are particularly in this list here. We got WIF, I think number 6, and number 9 is BONK. And then of course we have PEPE. I don't know the count. That's somewhere in the 15 to 20 range. And of course we've also got Dogecoin, which I think is down here underneath, down to about 26%. So keep in mind the ones that are above Bitcoin are effectively outperforming and or almost 2x of Bitcoin. In fact, WIF is about almost 4x of Bitcoin right now. So that's a coin that I definitely love to trade. My average position is 50 cents on my spot bag. Other than that, Bitcoin dominance, we already kind of touched on this, but as Bitcoin dominance continues to go sideways, we're going to be in a position where the price action will go basically with Bitcoin consistency. In other words, how altcoins, meme coins are behaving is effectively that 1-to-1 ratio. So let's take a look here at WIF first, kind of go ahead and start off with a baseline. We're going to jump into our playout charts first. These are already available on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. So if you're not familiar, they do look a little something like this. Feel free to join. Link down below. Now, what I want to talk about here is this cup and handle pattern. This doesn't imply the price is just going to shoot straight up, but it does indicate that we have more potential to retest the upper than the lower range. We've got a lot of support here for this coin, WIF at about 92 to 95 cents. So if you get lucky in that range, that would be a solid consideration for a long. Now, obviously, a lot needs to happen between now and then, of course, but when it comes to liquidation, with there being less above the price, we're more likely to see a slight pullback consistent with Bitcoin. Same thing as well here with liquidation long delta. It remains quite high, so you generally don't want to try to short against that unless it shifts gears. Furthermore, open interest at 95 to 97 cents. That's a solid support range, reinforcing that lower consistency or that confluence in that range. Okay, and we can kind of see that here. In fact, the 4-hour time frame probably a little bit easier to identify. We got this 90 to 93 cent support range here based on the golden pocket, but also our open interest range too, between 95 and 97 cents. So I'm going to be very interested in an entry between 90 and approximately 95 cents. That would be something I'm looking for. But everything else is fully bullish right now. There's probably no reason to consider shorting this coin specifically. I'm considering an altcoin, or sorry, a couple of shorts honestly later today, depending on how the candlestick closes. But for the most part, at this point, you're better off waiting for a long than taking a short position with this coin, even though it's still due to continue further down. It's once more just kind of risk. You're going to be risk averse if you're doing that strategy. Moving on to Dogecoin, we want to see a very similar structure here, and it is essentially the same thing. It's just got different fib levels. Keep in mind, these are like the macro fibs I have pulled up here, just kind of giving us an indication of resistance at about that 21.5 or 22 cent mark. Let's take a look at our playout chart here. And just kind of look at the back-end data we can see here, 18 and 19 cents, those two heavy concentrations. We got a lot of liquidation there, therefore implying we might actually see further downside. Now, liquidation long delta doesn't really tell us too much as far as the price going down. That's actually counterintuitive there. I don't think we're necessarily going to pull back per se, but we have more open interest above the price than below, which emphasizes a pretty big gap between 19 and 18 cents. So that kind of reinforces the fact that it's probably best to wait to take a trade with this coin. So that's kind of the general consensus. Not much else to really note except, once again, resistance between roughly 20 to 22 cents above us. Now, moving on to BONK here, this is a coin that's actually doing super well right now. It's a very good coin to consider trading. In fact, I missed my entry by a very small consideration there. We talked about this earlier in the week last week about wanting to get in at that 2100 range. We're not there anymore, of course, can't cry over spilt milk, but that's essentially what we're looking at there for that coin. Keep in mind, we did actually have some solid profits here recently, so I just want to give congratulations where congratulations are due. Our dog whiff hat long position, 63% on that guy. We also hit a BNB long as well as XRP, 54%. And what was the other one? ETH, that was my favorite there at 57% in 2 days. So it's been a good trading experience here, but once more, you got to be kind of patient in these movements and careful FOMOing in if you're going to FOMO in and watch it close. All right, so let's jump over our playout chart for this guy here. Where are we at? So for BONK, we already saw the charts, but I want to kind of emphasize that there's a lot of liquidation between 17 to basically, yeah, 1.7 to the 2000 range, or 1700 to 2000 range, depending on the chart you're using. We also have liquidation long delta super high. So you don't want to try to short against this. Doesn't make a ton of sense. This coin is too strong with a lot of open entries below the price, specifically at 2600, 2500, and 2200. Okay, so those are just some important areas to dollar cost average if you get lucky to see that again. We've got our point of control at 22 roughly. That's also a nice area of support. So this is going to be an area that I'm going to be considering, entry if we end up getting back down to that level. Okay, now it'd be awesome because the reason why that's an important level, because that's our previous high, our local high. If that's retested as a new low, we're likely continuing higher up from there. So awesome stuff here with this coin. Do you want to FOMO into the top right now? I don't necessarily recommend it, but with this amount of volume, I can tell you what, you're going to find more success trying to go up than down at this point. So that's kind of where we're at there for this coin. I would say decent consideration for a long in the relative near future. This is the one coin here that's looking like the bottom might drop out. So no shade against PEPE, but it's just not looking super, super strong right now. And let me explain why. First of all, taking a look at the backend data for PEPE, we can see we have liquidation above and below, but close approximation here at about 1100 to 1200 from just below the price action, more likely to get hit there soon. Liquidation delta is super high, so generally speaking, with the liquidation being high here, this isn't necessarily a coin you want to try to short against, right? So the truth is this is a high risk trade if you consider a short, but once more, if we lose that support at 1200, there's a lot more open interest above us, therefore reinforcing resistance, and in turn, the likelihood of further downside is greater. So even though liquidation long delta is high, I still think there's decent propensity for this coin to pull back a little bit further before it jumps up again. Now, even though we do have a cup and handle pattern, it's currently invalidating, and we have more propensity to go down. If we take a look at the daily time frame too, we can recognize here as well that we've got our 0.618 fib level above the price. We've rejected off that level multiple times. If we come back up there again, we may need high volume to get through that. But the overall sense here is that this coin isn't super strong, and I would be careful taking along just yet until we break free from this range of the rough estimate about 1200. So all in all, I think majority of these meme coins looking still very strong. I would recommend dollar cost averaging on as the price goes down at this point, maybe waiting for a better consideration on entry just based on Bitcoin currently trying to pull back and or maintaining this $120,000 range. If we can continue with that, altcoin dominance goes up, we're going to see some pretty significant continuations higher here. So just be careful shorting, be patient for longs, and that's kind of where we're at for the moment. Hope you learned something today. Comment below, let me know your position. We'll look forward to seeing the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.